Hey guys, today is such a beautiful day. We are so excited to get these potatoes in the ground. We're planting some seed potatoes that we bought from Wood Prairie Farms online. I put a link in the description. They're organic seed potatoes. And we're doing a mix today of some different types of varieties of potatoes that are seed potatoes, but also we're doing some potatoes that we bought from the store that actually just sprouted. So we're going to attempt to plant those and see what they do. Sometimes it's not recommended to plant the potatoes from the store if they don't sprout. Sometimes they don't make as much yield as when you buy a seed potato. And we're just gonna try it because we have them, instead of composting them, we thought let's just stick them in the ground and see what they do. So let me show you the varieties of the potatoes that we have, and then I'll show you us planting them and the spacing, and I'll talk all about that. Okay, so we have Luca here, our resident digger. He has his equipment ready to go.
Excavator.
His excavator.
I'm not really going to use it.
You're not going to use it?
No, it's too hard.
So the one variety here that we have is called Adirondack Red. We actually bought these seed potatoes from Wood Prairie Farms, like I mentioned before. And we ended up cutting these last night, and then I just let them dry, so scab over a little bit. So you can see the potato actually looks fairly dry. And they came whole, and then we actually ended up cutting them. And the way I cut them is there was a whole potato, and if I saw a sprout, I just made sure there's some sprout with a piece of a potato. And I have some better examples that are whole. You can see, and I can show you how I cut them. But essentially, I just made sure each piece of potato that I cut had some eyes or something sprouting already. So these are more obvious. You can see those, but this one right here really didn't have anything that you can see, but right here you can see a tiny eye. So I made sure that this one I cut, I left it big because it has eyes. That'll make a potato. This right here is a smaller piece, but it has some sprouts going, so that'll make a potato, and so on and so forth. So right here we have Adirondack Red, we have King Harry, we have Huckleberry Gold, we have a Yukon Gold, which happens to be my favorite potato. So I want to plant a lot of those. I may end up getting some more because I probably want the most of those. For myself, Dr. Holly probably wants, I don't know, what's your favorite potato?
I'm not sure, but I heard the Huckleberry Gold is really good, so I want to maybe get more of that. But the, oh, it's coming up. The Adirondack Blue are supposed to be blue inside, so I would like to get blue one.
So I don't think they sent us the right one of this one, because look, this is what
the seed potato looks different. I don't know.
Yeah, this is what Adirondack Blue is supposed to look like. Maybe the seed potato looks different. I don't know, but this sprout here does have a bluish hue to it, so it tells me something's going to be blue, but I don't know. That's weird. So maybe the seed potato is raised differently. I have no idea. So we'll see what we'll get. We'll plant them and see what happens.
I do like red potatoes too. So
yeah, we do like red potatoes. We eat a lot of those. And then here you can see we are labeling them. We'll place these labels here after we plant them. But this is how we cut the potatoes too. These are red potatoes just from the store. So these are organic. Just a bag of potatoes that we bought. We always make sure if we do plant from the store that we plant organic, because sometimes when they're not, they actually spray the potatoes with some chemicals that will prevent them from sprouting. So the conventional ones or non-organic potatoes will not sprout, or will sprout later on, but might not make the best potatoes. Plus, they're just grown in chemicals, so we prefer to keep our garden, especially our vegetable garden, organic. But these potatoes here, I did not cut because they're a little small. You can absolutely cut them, but I'm gonna try, because these are from the store, I left these whole because the bigger the potato, the more energy the plant will have, because the plant will actually feed from the potato. So there's two schools of thought. You can cut them like we did. I decided to go the cutting route because when we bought seed potatoes and we got them, it was actually a lot less quantity than I thought I was gonna get. And I was shocked. So I did divide these up to make more plants, but I do like to plant whole because I feel like the plants have more energy and they take off better. And then the next ones we have here are more store-bought ones that we have. These are russets. Look at this one, looks like a heart.
sweet.
It loves us. And then this one has some sprouts. So I'll show you here. I'm just gonna cut one. Ideally, you cut them and then you let them dry overnight because that'll help prevent disease. But we've grown them to where we just cut them and we just stick them in the ground right away. And we've had the same success. So, you know, there's so many rules in gardening that people make, and just do what works for you. Okay, so I'm gonna show you here what I'm looking for when I'm cutting these potatoes, just so you know what I'm doing here. So here, obviously, we have a big giant sprout. And then you can see here, this is an eye. All these little kind of growth points are eyes. Anywhere there's a growth point, you can just have a tiny piece of potato with it, and that'll grow a new plant. So right here, again, we have that bigger one. You can see this growth point right there. So honestly, you can cut this 2 or 3 ways. I like to keep a good chunk of potato with a sprout just so it has some food. So I'm probably gonna cut this in about half. I'm gonna cut this like my grandmother used to cut. Did your grandmother's just a knife toward you, which you're never supposed to do? But did your grandmother's cut like that? I know. I love it. Okay, so this is essentially how I'll leave it. And then you can leave this sit overnight, which is what we did. You can see these potatoes here. These are the red potatoes I had that I did overnight. They're a little drier. This is moist. It'll be fine. I just cut those just to show you guys so you can see how I did it. But these I'm actually gonna plant whole just to see what happens. And then we also got this bag that we forgot about. It was in the back of our pantry and they started to sprout. These are organic. It doesn't say the variety, but these are just like baby potatoes. I'm gonna plant these and see what happens, and we will see what yields we get. So this is a 16-foot long bed that we're gonna plant of potatoes. So hopefully we get a lot of potatoes this year. We wanna store them for the winter, and we wanna be able to provide our own potatoes. It's so exciting. Before we start planting, I wanted to show you guys our soil mix here. So I have a video that I made on what our raised bed soil mix is. I will link it below. So feel free to check that out because all of our raised beds have that same base soil mixture. And then on top, as you saw us add the Biotone fertilizer, Biospoma. It's organic, which we love, but also Biotone has mycorrhiza in it, which is beneficial bacteria and fungi, which help develop root growth. So potatoes are a root crop. So I made sure I went heavy on the fertilizer on this one because potatoes are heavy feeders. They love themselves some food. And the top dressing is a very thin layer of this beautiful land and sea compost. I don't really treat land and sea compost from Espoma like a compost. I mean, they might have their own recommendations for it, but really here I found in our raised beds that it works really well as a mulch. And also it feeds the soil as well. It has mycorrhiza in it as well, which is awesome, but it has lobster and crab meal and other beneficial ingredients that really feed the soil. And because this is our first year in this garden, we've been gardening for many years, but this garden, we're trying to plant things that are successful the first year round. So we have a lot of compost, a lot of organic matter, a lot of fertilizer, a lot of mycorrhiza. We're bringing in the beneficial bacteria, all of that stuff, which is what you're trying to do when you're planting a first garden. And every year we'll keep feeding and feeding the soil so that we have healthy plants. Okay guys, so I'm gonna make furrows, if you will, or lines here. I'm gonna dig out about 3 to 4 inches deep or so. You can do it deeper. These raised beds that I have here are 1 foot deep. Make sure potatoes love well draining soil. So our soil mixture here that we have is very well draining, and they love loose soil that is heavy in organic matter, really for happy potatoes so that they can grow big plants. I am going to plant these. When you plant them, make sure you're planting them cut side down. Obviously this has multiple cuts, but the most surface area you want down where the sprouts are going up. So I'm going to plant right here. I'm planting pretty close to the raised bed because the plants can feel free to hang over, but there's plenty of root growth downward for the potatoes here. And then we'll just keep doing that. I'm going to do about every foot apart this way. And then when I plant my next row, I'm going to do about, let's see, maybe 18 inches or so, 16 to 18 inches. Potatoes really love space. The more space you give them and time, the more potatoes they will grow underneath. So this is something that normally I love to cram everything together. But in this case, we may not need to because potatoes are really prolific and they produce a good crop.
Unless you want baby potatoes.
Unless you want baby potatoes. So we're gonna go ahead and plant these and then we'll show you a tour. We're not gonna cover them yet, but we'll show you a tour of everything once we do.
You ready to plant?
Yeah.
Ready to plant. Whoa! You almost fell in with the potatoes.
Look at that. It's got like a head on top. Little dinosaur.
I think it's growing a potato.
A potato's growing a potato? That could never happen. All right, guys, so here we have the potatoes. Look how fun. We were joking, they kind of look like dinosaur eggs in the soil. So we made rows every, I say about 18 inches or so. I mean, we're really not perfect about anything when it comes to spacing, nor do we really try to be. It's just kind of fun to just play around and just stick them in the dirt. So you can see down the whole way, we made rows every about 18 or so inches. We try to space them about every foot apart, but some varieties, there was only one potato left before it went to the new variety. So we decided we'll just put 5 or 4 or 3, depending on the size of the potato. So anyway, we attempted to do about every 12 inches apart. Some places you'll see they're a little closer. And then I'm just gonna fast forward here. You can see they're all about the same, except for the store-bought potatoes. We did put a little closer. And also the baby potatoes, we did put those a little closer. Mainly because we had them. We actually did not have enough space in this bed to plant the russet potatoes. So we're gonna probably plant just a few on this larger bed over there. But we're gonna go ahead and all you do now is just cover them up. So Luca, you wanna show?
You can go. Cover them up, Luca.
Good job. So essentially all we're gonna do is just move the soil from the hills, just cover them all up. We're gonna go ahead and cover everything up and we'll show you at the end what that looks like. All right, guys, so all the potatoes are covered up. Essentially, it looks like just how we started, like absolutely nothing is in there. I'm gonna go ahead and water these in. You don't have to, especially if you got a rain going, but I'm just gonna give them one good solid watering, and then I'll check the soil if it does dry out a little bit. But honestly, potatoes are so hardy, they're pretty easy to grow, they're pretty forgiving. So if you forget to water, it's not a really big deal. So potatoes for now, you don't want to drench them really regularly. Just keep the soil kind of moist, kind of damp. Once they get going though, and they have the greens, and this whole bed is covered in potato greens and the tops of potatoes, then they'll start drinking up some more water. And especially when they're flowering, when the potatoes start to flower, that means they're gonna start to produce the potatoes. That's really when they need a little more food. So we might go ahead and fertilize them when they're flowering to have a healthier crop. So we'll just sprinkle some garden tone or something like that when they're flowering. And besides that, that's pretty much it for potatoes. So we're just gonna water this in, just like I did here. See how well draining the soil is? You can see the water escaping pretty well. That is excellent for potatoes. You don't want them sitting in a sponge of soil, and that will cause them to rot. So this is an excellent mix, well draining. They're gonna love this. Hi. So we're gonna go ahead, we have that little bag of the baby potatoes and we have some of the russets left to plant. So we're gonna go ahead and plant those and then we'll show you that. Hey guys, so I don't think I actually hit the record button on the last part of this potato video. So I am editing the video now and I completely realized I forgot to record the last part. Long story short, I did plant a quarter of another raised bed of potatoes because I had some left. And we'll show you that in another video. We'll probably do some sort of garden tour video sometime soon so that you guys can see it. And also an update video on the potatoes, and we'll show you that sometime soon. We're working right now on getting the drip system. So I'm installing that. And if you guys are interested in a drip video, let me know in the comments and we'll definitely make a video of that. I'll probably just show you a snippet of one of the beds or two of the beds that I'm doing, and then I'll just go to town and finish the rest because I just want to get it done because I don't want to hand water every single day, and I want the veggies to have consistent water because I find that they do better if they have consistent water over when they're waiting on me to give them water once a day, sometimes twice a day. And really they prefer it early in the morning here, and then in the summertime they're going to require water at least twice a day, at least here in South Carolina where we're at, and sometimes I don't get to be able to water twice a day. And veggies really do need a little more water, or more consistent water, I should say, especially when they're getting started, when the roots are smaller. When the roots are bigger, you know, they can kind of take a little more beating, but right now you really kind of have to make sure you're consistent. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys. We hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.